A horse walks into a bar and orders a pint. The barkeep says, "You're in here pretty often. Do you think you might be an alcoholic?" The horse replies, "I don't think I am," and vanishes from existence. You see, this joke is all about the famous philosophy of "I think, therefore I am." But to explain that part before the rest of the joke would be putting Descartes before the horse. Welcome to the Fluffenhammer.
Every man lives, not every man truly dies.
I did say I was going to massacre some food and that... Wow. God, that was flagellation to the nth degree, was that. My God. That hurt on a lot of levels.
Would you like to know what the other co-host?
What,
Yes.
the quote? Okay, why not? Let's go for the other
this
one.
came from Stuart Murray, and it's absolutely brilliant, and it's from the Orcs Codex.
Okay. Oh, this might be fun.
Some runt herds use the threat of serving in mech guns batteries to instill discipline into their grot mobs, with rebellious or lazy runts being sent to shoot the guns. Should the miserable grot crews survive along, they will soon become deafened and will have to resort to a rudimentary system of sign language. This is rarely successful, as there are only so many signs a grot can carry around with him.
Okay, oh, excuse me. God, that set me off. Very good. Very good.
It is, isn't it?
Very good. Okay. Well, you know, the Orcs are like one of the only places where there's any levity in 40k at all. So it's nice to see that. Is that like the latest Orc Codex?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad that it's still got that sense of humour.
Have you not read the latest
The latest one? No, I don't think I've read the latest one.
It's really quite good. It's
well, aren't they all recently?
True. It's a weird one because I was expecting it to be a bit more of a push forward from the last codex.
Yeah.
And it isn't really, but
No,
there's quite a lot of nice little moments in it.
I just love the fact that they've got their sense of humour back, because they tried that thing sort of shortly into third ed. They really pushed for them going grimdark, didn't they? They all went brown, basically. They got rid of the clans, and they all just went brown and metal and rust, basically. And they lost a lot of their humour at that point. And for me, the Orcs are about humour.
Yeah, they have to be the ridiculous football hooligans.
It's what distinguishes them. It's what distinguishes them in 40k, because there are so many sort of berserker, grim, dark, hyper sadist, xenophobic, philosophically twisted, lunatic aliens and demons out there. It's nice to have something that's apart from that, that's a leavener.
Yeah. I think there was the Orcs in 40k. Oh, by the way, I'm Adam. This is George.
Hello.
We're really good at these intros, aren't we?
We're very good at the intros.
The interesting thing about the Orcs is you've got to do that tightrope dance.
Yeah.
You have to make them both a terrifying proposition, but they have to be a little bit silly.
Yes.
And I think the way to do it is they've got to be silly looking down, but terrifying looking forward.
Yeah, it's something the writers for the Black Library have often done rather well, actually.
Yeah.
Where the way they've done it is they've made them very alien. So they're often looked at through the eyes of humans or space marines. So they're not going around talking like football hooligans. They're actually, the way they're portrayed in the Black Library fiction is they're talking their own language.
Yes.
It's actually Orcish or Orcoid or whatever that they're talking, which is indiscernible. It's not like a very inarticulate form of English.
I always quite like the. I can't remember which book it was in, but it's. Do you hear that, sir? The Orcs. And in the background, you see, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, it's like they don't.
It's actually an old Inferno story.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
What are they saying? I don't know. It's some kind of Orcoid language. Here we go.
Brilliant. It's yeah. They are. They're not. It's being translated for the reader's eye.
Yes, and it has
Basically,
to be. It has to be.
They're not literally saying "Here we go,"
Which is a bit of a shame, but
which is a kind of a shame because I think probably early on they probably did.
oh yeah. Well, that was the name of the first codex, wasn't it? Was Here We Go.
It was way back when. God, that was yeah. And wasn't Here We Go is one of the first army books, wasn't it? It was one of the really early ones, alongside the ROC books.
I think it was right after the Slaves to Darkness and
Lost in the Damned,
Lost
was
and
it?
Damned, yeah,
Directly after. Wow.
I'm
so
sure it
before the Space Marines had an army book.
Well, the Space Marines basically had one inside Rogue Trader, didn't they?
They had one inside Rogue Trader, technically, yes, but not like a dedicated one in the same way that the Forces of Chaos and the Orcs did. That's really interesting.
I think it actually had those after the Orcs, the more I think about it.
That's really interesting, because, of course, looking back, just looking at it now, you'd have thought the Space Marines would have been day one, bam, wouldn't you?
You would, but also the Space Marines were not what they are now.
That's true.
I can't remember who it was. It might have actually been an interview with Brian Ansell. They were talking about how the reason that the Space Marines became the poster boys for 40k is because the Chaos Warriors did so well.
Okay.
So it's a strange one. So it was. I don't think it was Ansel actually. I think it might have been one of the Morrisons, Trish Morrison or someone like that.
Yeah.
So why are the Stormcast? Why do the Stormcast exist? Why are they putting the Space Marines in fantasy?
Yeah.
And the answer is they're not. What we're doing is making older versions of Chaos Warriors.
Because it's something that's been desperately needed.
Yeah. And the reason that Space Marines exist is because we wanted to have Chaos Warriors in space.
Right. And that was what they did. And of course, I mean, I suppose the fact that the Space Marines were also more recognizable to the general public because of later efforts like Space Crusade and whatnot. I imagine that helped a great deal.
Yes, very much so. I mean, the Space Marine, you could actually go out and somebody who doesn't play or have any real passing interest in tabletop gaming.
They know what a Space Marine is.
Because it's how many games on the Xbox?
On
the 360 had a Space Marine front and center.
Well, it's one of those images that's actually transcended the franchise, and it's become lodged in cultural consciousness, hasn't it?
Yeah. Like Optimus Prime.
Like Optimus Prime
or
Sonic the Hedgehog or whatever. They are that level of icon, aren't they, at this point?
Interesting fact. You mentioned Sonic the Hedgehog. I instantly think of the live-action version and start twitching. It's,
yes.
A Pavlovian response to Hedgehog. Interesting.
By the way, just a slight plug since we mentioned Sonic the Hedgehog. There's a really great podcast about the UK Sonic the Comic out there doing the rounds. If you type in Sonic the Comic podcast, you'll find it. Very, very bloody good.
Did you enjoy Bulmer's rendition of his dramatic reading of Dr. Robotnik?
I did. I read of Kinterbor.
I got chills.
I loved it. I'm going to go on it. I've already spoken to Chris about it.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, I'm going to do. It's a while off yet, but I'm going to do some of the issues that were the adaptations of Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh, nice.
Because those were my favourites. Those were my absolute favourites. I remember taking those comics on holiday. And just reading them so much they fell apart.
Yeah.
Just anyway, that's a different podcast.
I could go on and wax lyrical about Sonic the Comic for years.
Totally. Yeah. It was such a big part of my childhood, I can tell you.
But if I had the time or the ability to do so, I always wanted to do an audio drama production of the Sonic Terminator.
Oh God, yeah, so much fun.
That series. That series is so good.
Well, it introduced Metal Sonic, or Metallics, as they call it in the UK comics, and he was such a key character.
Yeah.
in the UK comics. You had this whole spin-off of the Brotherhood of Metallics. And
Oh.
all of that stuff, all
The-
of the different versions of Metallics. I loved that. I thought that was absolutely spectacular.
The Emperor Metallics.
The Emperor Metallics, yeah, really interesting stuff. I mean, anyway, let's talk about Games Workshop, because that's what we're here for.
Indeed. It's Games Workshop and surrounding properties.
Surrounding properties, yes.
That's very much our idea.
Our purview, isn't it?
Yeah. And hopefully we'll get back on to talking about some of the surrounding ideas over the next few weeks.
Absolutely.
Now, the big thing that we're going to be talking about this week is going to be the Nova releases. Because there is a lot going on here. There
Games Workshop.
been so much coming out. It's ridiculous.
It's hard to believe, isn't it, that there was a time towards sort of the end of Fantasy Battle, before the resurrection of Nagash, where the undead armies in Fantasy Battle were totally neglected. Yes. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's hard to believe that there was a point where, unless it was 40k, nothing was coming out.
Nothing was coming out, yeah. You had the odd little thing, like the odd little, where they were almost like testing the waters to see if they could spark some interest, and it just wasn't happening. So you had all of these very static, stagnant armies and forces that were just doing nothing, really.
Yeah.
Look at it now.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to do this the fun way today. What we're going to do is, I have behind me the Wheel of Misfortune.
Oh dear.
And we're going to run the Wheel of Misfortune, and we're going to use that to talk about the stuff that we've got here.
Okie cokes.
So, shall we get started, George?
Okay, why not?
So, let's roll the Wheel of Misfortune. Middle-earth.
Oh, really? Okay, well, at least we're starting with the one that nobody gives a crap about, really. Middle-earth, new strategy battle game. Does anyone care?
Some people do. And
I'm sure some people must, because they're still plugging it, but...
There is one thing I will bring up, which interests me. And that is the Rohan the Rohan terrain. I can't pronounce that word. Terrain.
The actual,
there we go.
I mean, you've got the Hall of Medjugorje,
Yeah.
which is very pretty. I've got to say, it looks lovely. It looks beautiful. It really does. The terrain is very, very lovely.
It's modular.
Edoras and all of that. The Hall of Medjugorje, all of that. Beautiful. Looks great. Still don't care.
I care in the way that it's a modular set for making houses.
Yeah, that's cool, because you could use it for other things, yeah?
You can, and I like the idea of using it to make some little hobbit houses.
That's quite cute. I mean, you could also... is it to scale? It's not to scale with the stuff in the other gaming systems, is it, unfortunately? That's a shame.
No, that's done on purpose. When they got the license for Lord of the Rings, one of the things was it had to be a smaller scale so it couldn't swap in and out of...
Oh, was that one of the stipulations?
It was, yes. So
hasn't stopped people, though.
No.
I've seen conversions of Balrogs and whatnot into Demon Princes and whatever. Hasn't stopped people.
I think that works, and that Smog that they did about a year ago is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, he's lovely. He is. He's absolutely beautiful.
And I will say that the one that has Saruman with his little orb on a plinth.
Oh, it's Palantir.
Yeah, I mean the orb on a plinth looks like a really nice little bit of scenery that you can use.
That does actually. That would be a nice sort of objective marker or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I will sit here and say that I would not like to be the person that has to try and paint the bloody eye on the thing.
No,
Look at
that would be fun. That would be fun. I might be going for the black Palantir.
Yeah, just lots and lots of varnish on it.
Yeah. That might be an easier way of doing it. And the models are good. The models are probably the best they've ever been for the Middle-earth stuff. The Grima Wormtongue looks great.
Yeah.
I love his handkerchief and everything. I think that's wonderful.
The only reason I'd want that Saruman is just so I could have a Christopher Lee miniature.
That's it, isn't it? It's the fact that it's Christopher Lee. That's what does it.
And it would just be nice to have a little Christopher Lee. And like, Christopher Lee, you're amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But insofar as the gaming system and whatnot goes, not for me.
Before we move on, I'm sure I've told this story before, but have you heard about when Christopher Lee was filming Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson got a telling off from him?
Oh, is this about the
when you stab
being
somebody in the
stabbed?
throat.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because if someone knows actually what happens to a person when they're stabbed, it's Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Because he was basically Black Ops, wasn't he? At one point,
He was, yeah, during World War Two.
He has assassinated people, so he knows what happens. Yes, I have heard that story. It's a very good section of the Lord of the Rings DVDs, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to read some declassified thing of Christopher Lee. It'll never happen.
No, but I would love to know what he did.
Yeah, same.
I would love to know what he actually got up to.
Shall we run the wheel again?
Yeah, let's run the wheel.
Warcry.
Warcry. I mean, Warcry's been the big ticket, hasn't it, recently?
Yeah.
It has been the big thing. So obviously they're going nuts with it. They're expanding it, you know? It looks like what they're doing is introducing ways you can introduce monsters into it. So you can bring like your big chimeras and manticores and whatever into the system. And in Warcry that really does work because it's about monsters and, you know, big sort of like end of level boss creatures in a video game.
Yeah. Now, there's three things that interest me here about Warcry, about what the next thing to do. So they're going to bring up monsters, right? And that is obviously the updated version of a chimera.
Yes, totally.
In that picture, right? And I am all the way happy about this because I love chimeras.
I like chimeras too.
Mercenaries, excellent. You're going to get a little... Now, have you seen the crossover between Warcry and AOS?
No.
Right. So everything in Warcry has an AOS rule system, right?
Oh, that's cool.
You can run, if you, like myself, are going nuts and you're buying everything in Warcry, you can then field that as a Slaves to Darkness army.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool indeed.
Yeah. Right? So they're going to put out monsters. So you got it for your Warcry game.
Yep.
And you've now got monsters for a Slaves to Darkness army.
That's brilliant. Oh, and there will be a book, of course.
I assume so at some point, yeah.
I think it's quite likely there will be a book that sort of incorporates all of these elements.
I think you're probably not far away from the truth. We know the Slaves to Darkness are going to get an eye cast over them in the not too distant future.
We've heard this, haven't we? There have been rumours floating around that the Slaves to Darkness are going to get a big update very soon.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be an event that brings Archaon back into the fore, because Nagash has basically been the big villain for quite a while now.
And I think after the Ossarian Bones, which we'll talk about shortly, what we're going to see is a shift away from Nagash. Not a shift away, that's the wrong way of putting it, but we're going to see a focus on other parts of the Mortal Realms.
Well, they've done so much, haven't they?
Yes, they really have.
Done so much with Nagash and the forces of the undead. A shift towards another nemesis would be quite good at this point. Yeah, he may recede a little bit, yeah?
Because we know that the Cities of Sigmar are getting a big push when that happens, which I think is next month.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too, actually. I think
really looking forward to that.
Seeing some ground level stuff take place is going to be really nice.
Well, it's what does it with the Mortal Realms for me. I really like learning about their topography and their communities, their cultures. That really fleshes them out for me.
It does, yeah. I'm trying to think which book it was that I read recently. It was something akin... It was the sequel to City of Secrets. I can't remember its name now off the top of my head. But it did a lot of how people see the Zangor and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something I really enjoyed, because what Fantasy Battle still has over AOS is those moments where you can smell the streets.
Yes, yeah.
That you can walk through Altdorf, you know where things are, you know how it works.
You even know, like, with cities like Altdorf or Nuln or whatever, you knew even what they were like how they were structured and where the town squares were and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And that's still missing. But then Altdorf, well, the old world was a finite size, whilst the Mortal Realms are the exact
basically
opposite.
Infinite. I mean, one of the benefits of the Mortal Realms is, in many respects, that lack of stricture. So you, as a player or as a writer or whatever, can go in and write, okay, there's this city on one of the coasts of the Realm of Fire, and it looks like this, and the people are like this, and the culture's like this, and this is mine. I created this, and that's perfectly legitimate.
Oh yeah, the thing I was going to say that was one of the things that I think always kind of bothers me is that they never pushed past the Empire. We've got an entire section of the old world that never got explored.
So other human civilizations.
Yeah, Nippon and Araby and all those types of places.
It never really. It got very basic references.
Yeah, and that was it.
And that was largely it. It's such a shame, whereas the AOS realms have all of that.
Yeah,
And
everything's
more,
there.
way more, actually. Way more than that, because the variety of culture here is basically infinite.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. I mean, just from a writer's perspective, it's way more attractive than the old world was.
Yeah, very much so. Have you been following the Mortal Realm stuff in White Dwarf?
Oh yeah. I mean, just as an offside, White Dwarf's really kicking it at the moment, I find.
Oh, it really is.
Such a good publication again. There was a time when I dipped right out of it, you know? Right out. I just wasn't interested because it was just not a very good publication, but boy, is it good now.
Yeah, it's beyond good. It's the stuff that's they're throwing now is beyond brilliant.
Well, it's kind of a new golden age for the publication, isn't it?
It is. It's one of the things that I found really interesting about New White Dwarf is that we're getting the creators themselves sitting and talking about the creative process. I can't remember the name of the guys because my brain has decided to completely leave the room now. It's one of those things. But
Cruddas, yeah.
Yeah, Robin Cruddas. I'm probably mispronouncing that name. He's each month, he does a really nice article talking about the different things that goes into the world building.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jervis Johnson talking about the rule systems and what goes into doing that. This is unheard of. This isn't how this works.
Well, I mean, it's sort of in its own odd way. It's kind of a throwback to how it used to be when you used to get these long articles about the nature of the hobby and sort of a peek behind the curtain. That went away for the longest time, and it really just became a miniatures catalogue when you didn't need a miniatures catalogue because the internet was around. But now it's very hobby based. It's about the enthusiasm, it's about the background, it's about people's miniatures and armies and the way they narrativize what they do. It's wonderful. It really is quite inspiring.
More than happy. It's I need to get another subscription sorted out. My subscription ran out and I haven't updated it yet. So I need to really do that to make sure I don't miss out an issue. Although there's very little chance of that actually happening. I'm always worried that I'm going to miss an issue. Shall we go back to the wheel?
Spin the wheel and see what else we can come up with. Necromonger. Now, this is an interesting one, because again, Necromonger's become... It is one of the more popular gaming systems at the moment, it seems. People really want it to be more than it is. And that seems to be happening, you know? They're pouring a lot of effort into it.
Yeah. It's actually surprising how much Necromonger... I honestly thought Necromonger was going to be a one and done.
Yeah,
they were
like
going to get it out.
Shot, basically.
Yeah, they would get everything out for it, all the gangs and everything, and then that would be it. You wouldn't hear anything more.
Yeah.
But no.
They're actually pouring stuff into it. They're actually updating it a little bit, which is really cool.
Well, they're pushing it past the original Necromonger releases. We're getting to the point now where there's stuff that's going to be coming out for Necromonger that never existed before.
Yeah. It seems to be expanding the environment of Necromonger more than anything. I mean...
Well, it's exploring Necromonger in ways that didn't happen in whatever the original skirmish game was called. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. It looks like what you're going to be able to do at some point is like go through the different levels of the hive.
Yeah, well, we're starting to talk about Elmore, you know. We're getting into the not the upper levels, but we're going out of the.
But we're going out of the underhive itself, aren't we? Which is really interesting, because that never happened before.
No, you had people coming down into the slump, but you never had people.
You never had
going
people
up.
ascending,
No.
because that's hard. That's difficult to do. There's an entire system in place to prevent people from doing that. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'm interested. I'm actually interested purely on a narrative level to see what they do with it.
I think I might actually start getting the Necromundo books. I've got Necromundo. I only have the 2 teams that came with it. I've never had the chance or the money to get any further into it because other things keep happening. No, I mean, I'm going to admit the aerial combat game.
Oh, Aeronautica.
Yeah, that's kind of singing my tune as well, which is not fair because I do love planes.
That was do you remember when that was originally released?
I do.
Aeronautica Imperialis. It was actually a free game in White Dwarf.
It was.
A long time ago.
Many years ago.
A long time ago.
And
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It is one of the lower tiers for me, Necromunda, but it is interesting. I'm fascinated by it.
Well, I've been really enjoying the fiction that's been spinning out of it.
Yeah, that's where it gets me, I'll be honest. That's where it hooks me.
I mean, have you got the Inferno anthologies?
I haven't, unfortunately, but I've still got some of my original Infernos.
Not the reprints. This is where it gets confusing. They've also been putting out anthology books called Inferno.
Oh, no, I don't have any of those.
Right, I recommend.
Good, yeah?
Well, I'm reading through number 1 again. Right, I think there's 3, or the third one's about to release. In the first one, you've got a story called The Path to Glory, which is a 3-part short story set at the start of the Age of Chaos.
Okay.
And it shows just how far things fell.
Yeah.
And why people turned the way they did.
Okay, interesting.
Which is really good. There's also a Necromundo story, which I can't remember the name of, and it's entirely from the point of view of a Goliath pit fighter.
Oh, okay.
And you'd expect it to be, me Goliath, me
that's
strong.
What you'd imagine, yes.
But it's not. It's
okay.
Me Goliath, me strong, me fight. Me fight to be able to feed that brother. Me fight to be able to take care of that sister.
So it's more about like the character, it's more about the culture.
Exactly, yeah.
Of the Underhive.
And this guy, he gets... I won't spoil the story because it's actually quite nice, but this guy gets a very noirish offer from a rogue trader's wife.
Okay.
And it gets very noirish.
That's interesting. Is she almost like femme fatale-ish?
Yeah, but she's really ugly.
Okay.
She's really ugly and quite short and squat. But it's all done as a massive playing around with the noir tropes.
Yeah, that sounds fun, actually.
It is. It's a really nice story.
Necromundo's a good place to be doing that kind of story, too.
Well, Necromundo's, way back in the day when the original Inferno ran, Necromundo was a good place to do the odd stories, the ones that didn't fit anywhere else.
Well, because it's so contained, isn't it? It's so sort of apart from everything else. You can mess about a little bit with it.
Yeah, it was the same with Mordheim, actually.
Same with Mordheim.
Yeah, you could do the stories that didn't involve the anvils of the gods or the hitting things as hard as you could.
Yeah, they do a similar thing with Shadespire now.
They do, yes. Some of those audio dramas for Shadespire, I can't remember the name of him, the Elven Prince with his little spite.
They're kind of off the wall, aren't they? They're slightly odd.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard the one about the 3 Stormcast?
No, I don't think I've heard that one.
It's 3 Stormcast who are just continuously living and dying and living again.
Oh, jeez.
But never leaving Shadespire.
Oh, interesting.
So they die, and then they're back in their bodies.
They're just immediately resurrected, yeah?
Yeah, but the wounds stay, and the armour stays destroyed and dented.
Oh, so they're decaying, essentially, as time goes on.
Yeah, they're just slowly but surely getting torn apart. It's awful.
Not nice.
No,
Not nice at all.
But it's quite good. It's quite a good story. I think Necromundo in general is interesting from a fictional point of view, and I'm intrigued to see what this is going to be, because they don't actually tell you what
there's not much
this
information.
Is. No,
there's not much. There's suggestions of what it's going to be. It looks like, as I said before, they're expanding the scope of the game, so you can be in more places, or you can play in more environments, and it looks like it may even be a little bit more narrative than it was before.
I'm hoping that at some point they're going to add the Inc. 28, like the Inquisitor style rule set into Necromunda, just so you can do that more. I mean, Necromundo itself is quite a narrative-based game. It's quite fun for that. But I'm hoping that they're going to throw in that Inquisitor rule set to
But
make.
for role playing, it's perfect,
yeah.
isn't it? It's absolutely perfect setting.
Sorry. A lot of editing for this show. So let's roll the wheel again.
Let's roll once again and see what we come up with. We should call it the Wheel of Zeech, really, shouldn't we? Or the Wheel of Fate or something.
The Wheel of Zeechians. Warhammer Community. So, what came out of Nova this year, dedicated to Warhammer Community, is the Warhammer Heroes. Now, I don't know if you know about this.
I'm
they did this
not familiar with this.
2 years. They've done it 2 years in the trot. And it's to recognise the exceptional individuals who make the hobby great.
Oh, that's cool.
So if there's someone in your local hobby community who you think deserves a special recognition, they want to hear. They will know when they officially open nominations.
Oh, that's cool. So someone who like runs a specialist sort of gaming community or something like that. That's cool. I like that.
I'm going to be putting somebody forward this year. Who will it be? Who knows? Somebody local to my area who does a lot of good work for a lot of people.
Right.
So I'm going to be putting him forward and see what we can do with that.
That's really sweet.
You know who you are, or maybe you don't. Who knows? But yeah, I think that's such a lovely way of doing things. It's being able to, give back into the community is something that GW's been doing very well of late.
Of late, it has. It really has. And this is a nice way of drawing ties between the company and the community.
Yeah, I'm considering that for years and years and years, the disconnect between the community and the company was massive.
Oh, it was an abyss. It was an absolute abyss at one time.
They've made such well done steps to change that.
Yeah, they have.
And of course, the Warhammer Underworld's Grand Masters are coming in.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So the fact that they're doing tournaments for it, that's really
yeah,
cool.
Isn't that interesting? For one of the smaller games too, that's cool.
Yeah, it really is. I'm a fan of that. I'm a big fan. What else have we got in here? We'll just go straight into the Warhammer Legends stuff because it kind of ties together.
It kind of ties together. Yeah, I mean, they've been doing the Legends stuff for a while now, but it's nice that they are providing rules and whatnot for these technically defunct miniatures.
Yes. I mean, the chaplain on the bike saying "Hooray!" is
Yay!
I love that picture.
That is really good, isn't it? And it's actually a very good miniature, that one. It stands up rather well.
I love the old beaky marine with its "Even in death, I still serve."
Yeah, the old beaky. Yeah.
I really want to turn that into the picture for this episode because that picture just brings me so much joy.
Yeah, it's a nice idea. It really is. It's basically just a way that people can use their old collections, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think it's a really nice thing. A way of doing things, allowing you the chance to be able to pull out your old collections, which is one of the things that I know people had a bit of an issue with about 2 years ago, was that, hang on, what do you mean this stuff's going away?
Yeah, and I can understand. I can definitely understand that, but
the fact is that the rule sets are still there, so
yes.
It's not going away. You just can't buy it anymore.
They're making efforts, aren't they? They are making efforts to make sure that people don't have redundant miniatures sitting around. I imagine they'll do the same for things like Chaos Lords on steeds and things, which you can't really do anymore.
Yeah.
I'm imagining they'll do something similar for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that for a second. What I'd like them to do is have a Warhammer Legends site where you can just download packs of cards. With these rules on. I think
that'd be a good idea.
I think that would be the way forward for it.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. So they're always there then, aren't they? They always exist.
Yeah, you don't have to worry too much about keeping the app updated or anything like that. They're just there if you want them.
Yeah, good idea.
And then we got a little bit of news about the Angels of Death animated series.
This one is exciting but ambiguous for me. They've always had issues translating 40k into visual media.
Ultramarines movie.
You always had issues with it. It's actually, for such a visual world, for a world that has such a defined aesthetic, there's always been real problems capturing it with the right ethos, the right feeling. And that's the trick, it seems to me. It needs to have that very, very, very particular ethos about it, which is hard to capture.
Yes, it's very hard to capture because you have to do it from the point of view of the viewer character. You know,
Yeah.
it has to be the person that's coming in, or the person that's exploring the world, or it. When you do it from the point of view of a space marine, I think the problem is you kind of lose the size and the majesty of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of need to have that Imperial Guardsman or whatnot, and it looks like that's what we're getting here with the Livia Sorkin. Now, this guy looks a little bit like a cut price Mr. Sinister. Let's be honest, you know. But
I like the design, I've got to say.
oh yeah, he looks so Rogue Trader, so
He does.
40k. It really makes me happy.
There is a certain atmosphere in the images that we've got thus far.
Yeah,
It looks good. It does look good. I mean, there's another element to this as well, and that is the audio element or the oral element.
yes.
One of the big problems with, like, say, the video games that are based on Warhammer 40,000 is they never know what to do in terms of the voice acting. So, because it's never really been defined. We
No.
know that the Imperial forces speak in Imperial Gothic. Yeah?
Yes.
Which is a kind of cod Latin.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you go with that? How do they actually speak? I mean, you know, if you really wanted to go for it, you could actually have them speaking Latin and have subtitles.
I don't see that happening.
I
so well.
don't see that happening either. So where do you go? What kind of accents do they have? How do they sound when they speak?
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult thing. It's a very, very difficult thing, especially when you consider that in the 40k universe, there's not just one culture. There are thousands of different cultures, all of which speak their own forms of Imperial Gothic and have their own accents and their own colloquialisms and whatnot. It's a difficult thing to do. But it's something you've got to consider if you're doing this kind of universe. You've got to sit down and think about it, you know?
Very much so. You can't. I know exactly how it's going to work. What we're going to get is we're going to get a collection of British and American accents with cod Latin thrown in every now and again. What I think they've managed to do very well recently is the sheer amount of audio dramas has given Games Workshop a bit of a push in how to get this right.
So they've got more of a basis.
Yeah, they've got more of an idea of how to make this work. There's one of the short ones that they did, which is all about I can't remember what chapter it is now, but there's a captain who has been set up for assassination by an Imperial assassin.
Right.
And the way he does it is he starts off with a very what you'd expect it to sound like, you know, the quite gruff, quite rough sounding. I am a space marine captain.
Yeah, yeah.
But as it goes along and he gets more wound up and more angry, he
he
throws in more of the Latin sounding words.
Ah, right, okay.
So, you know, there's more the liberatime as he's
as he's losing it, basically.
Yeah. So I think that's quite an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That could be cool. But that, for me, that's going to be one of the elements that sells or doesn't sell it, basically.
Yeah.
We shall see.
I don't know what that sound was, but that was amazing.
What?
It just sounded like Moonlander taking off or something. That was
Right. That may have been me wheezing, actually.
It sounded very electronic.
Just having some bit congested. Could be me wheezing away.
Could have been. No, I don't know.
Or some electronic beep, some sort of infestation. It's scrap code.
Oh no!
You may have to, remove the earphones while you can.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
I've been taken.
Be incorporated.
Shall we run the wheel again?
Let us do so.
So, 40k.
40k. 40k has been a little bit There's good stuff and there's other stuff for me.
No. There's good stuff, and then there's absolute joy.
There's some really good stuff. Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me in 40k, the one that's really snaring my interest at the moment is Psychic Awakening.
Yes, and we still don't actually know what it is.
We don't. I mean, I think people are right when they're saying that it is going to be endless spells in 40k. Basically.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be. But we don't know what's happening on a narrative level. It seems like that this is the realization of what Magnus the Red has always wanted, which is the efflorescence of humanity and actually lots of other races as well into a kind of psychic awakening. They're actually going to be connected to the warp in a way that they never were before.
Yes.
Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I imagine it's going to be highly ambiguous, you know? But what surprised me is the amount of races it's going to affect.
Yeah.
Because there are races here that don't have any psychic connection at all. There are the Necrons, for example. They're here. The Drukhari, both of whom not only have no psychic connections whatsoever, they actively refute it.
Yeah.
They regard it as abominable, you know? Psykers are illegal in Comora. You actually can't bring psykers into Comora. It's illegal. I'm sure it doesn't stop them doing it, but you're not supposed to.
No, you're not.
So how this works, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
You know, you see the table of symbols, right? On the top line,
Yep.
you've got Imperial, obviously, the Space
Yes.
Marines. Then you've got Chaos, right? Then you've got Eldar, Eldari. What's the one after that? The Heart.
After the Eldari,
Yeah.
the heart with the symbol through it.
Yeah.
That's Drukhari.
That's Drukhari.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Drukhari. That's the Dark Eldar.
So what's the one next to that?
Inari.
Oh, of course it is.
It's Inari. So, I
Of
mean, they're going
course
to, I
it is.
imagine they're
Yes.
going to play a key part in this. The Inari, I imagine, are going to play a massive part in this because they, of course, are disturbing the psychic fabric of the universe with what they're doing. So, I don't know. It's hard to say on a narrative level. It's hard to say what's happening. I'm imagining, because this is so tied to what Magnus has always wanted, I'm imagining the Thousand Sons have got something to do with it.
I would have thought so, yes.
I'm imagining they're going to be a key part of this. I'm also imagining that they're going to benefit from it quite strongly. That would be my guess. It's maybe the way the other races are going to fit in is, you know how you had the Cornate Phenomena
Yes.
instead of spells in AOS?
Yeah.
I imagine that might be how they do it with the Drukhari and the Necrons.
I've just had two terrifying thoughts and one confusing thought. So the Knights and Chaos Knights are in there as well.
Yep, they are.
So I'm assuming that's probably going to be more like psychic killers rather than
Possibly. I mean,
creating psychic spells themselves.
there is an upgrade in the Chaos Knight book that allows you to take a Psychic Knight.
Really?
Yeah, there's a Zechen artifact you can take that allows them to be a Psyker, which is a bit mental, I know.
That's ridiculous. I love it.
I mean, they only get Smite, but even so,
yeah.
it's pretty damn nasty on a Knight, you know?
The other terrifying thing is I've just realised that that's the Tyrannid symbol.
And the Gene Stealer cults are there too.
Gene Stealer cult. Yep, that's okay. Right, that's not a problem. Magus
Adeptus
doing stuff.
Sororitas. I bet they're all there. They're pretty much all there, you know?
Is the dragon eating its own tail? Is that the?
That's the
Mechanicus?
Thousand Sons. That's the
That's
Thousand
the Thousand Sons, right?
Yeah, that's the Thousand Sons.
So no Skitari in there then.
Oh, the Adeptus Mechanicus. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Adeptus Mechanicus are there. They're bottom left.
Bottom left. Oh,
The
right.
cog with the skull.
Yeah. Aye.
Yeah, all the races are represented there. Pretty much all the factions are represented there. So what it means, are they going to introduce like specific laws of endless spells or psychic phenomena for each of the races? Because if so, that means lots of new miniatures.
Yes.
Lots of new miniatures.
Yeah, you get the feeling that the production side of it is about to go haywire.
Yeah, you do get that impression. And they're saying as well, and this is what interests me more than anything, that it's the next big narrative push.
Yes.
So after the destruction of Cadia, after Vigilus, this is the big thing that's going to change the status quo.
Well, it's a lot of what I've seen is you think I'm trying to remember how it was written. You think that Vigilus changed the game. You've seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
So-
Apparently, another thing they say is that there's going to be lots of characters who you thought were gone coming back for this.
Ferrus.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised to see an Imperial Primarch turning up.
No. I'm trying to think.
Excuse me.
Imperial Loyalist Primarch, Heavy Psychic. I can't think of anyone.
The only one who was heavily psychic on the Imperial side was Sanguinius.
Yeah, and if he comes back, I'll be very disappointed. Actually, if he
actually,
makes an appearance.
I wouldn't want to see Sanguinius come back either. He died.
No, and he should
properly
stay dead.
died. Well, the thing is, you can't bring Sanguinius back because his death, the psychic shockwave of that death, is what informs the entire Blood Angels ethos.
Yeah.
You can't bring him back. It doesn't work.
No, it destroys a lot of what makes the Blood Angels the Blood Angels.
Exactly.
The only way you do it is if you completely revamped what the Blood Angels are.
Exactly.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't. The one I would like to see come back first is Lionel Johnson.
Yep.
Just politically, because I think he would be this massive wild card. Nobody would know what the hell he's up to or where his loyalties lie or what he's doing.
Yeah, and that actually... Yeah, you've just conjured up an image in my brain here, George. In that way that you have a tendency of doing.
Yeah.
So, Psychic Awakening, and this is entirely speculation, ladies and gentlemen. This is just me inventing wildly as I go.
Mm-hmm.
Lionel Johnson is resurrected or
just comes
released,
back from wherever the hell he has been,
And that creates, due to the fact that he's bringing the Watchers in the Dark with him, that creates a giant psychic earthquake. It awakens the psychic potential in one in every 5,000 people or something like that. Yeah, and that alone, that creation of psychic potential is the thing that brings Ynnari or Ynid up the next level of wakefulness.
Who knows? I mean, it's difficult to say. I mean, they're definitely going to be using this as a way of kick-starting not only new miniatures lines, but introducing lots of new miniatures as well. Which, of course, if they do bring back some of the Loyalist Primarchs, it will coincide with the releases of their sub-codex for the new Space Marine Codex.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting. Really interesting. That's a very good codex, by the way. You read that?
I haven't yet, no.
Jesus God, they're yeah. It's actually really good. It's a damn good read because they've updated it quite a lot in terms of its background and whatnot. It's not just the same stuff over and over and over.
Okay,
They've moved it forward quite significantly.
I am glad to hear it.
And it's a nice format as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing this format carried forward to the other races. Mm-hmm. Especially the Chaos Space Marines, obviously.
Well, I think Psychic Awakening is going to be 8.2, isn't it?
It's going to be an excuse to introduce this format into the new system. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think this is the gateway, basically.
Yeah, in a way that Soul Wars was AOS 1.2, or however you want to put it, or 2.1. This is going to be 8.2. Because this is the idea, isn't it, from now on? That there aren't new versions coming, it's just updates.
That's it. And I think this is definitely going to be a big update. I mean, we've got a glimpse of some of the new miniatures that are coming as well, the Howling Banshees.
Yep.
Does that suggest to me updated Ajayani Codex?
Yes, very much so.
Very much so. I think it's not just going to be the Howling Banshees. They wouldn't just release them in a vacuum.
No.
It's going to be the Eldar, isn't it? It's going to be the Craft World Eldar, the Ajayani. Maybe we'll even get plastic warp spiders now.
Oh, God, can you imagine?
Knows? Who knows, eh?
What I'm hoping for is that they go back to an Eldari army looking like a carnival, all the different colours, all the different styles, it's something I always loved about the old Eldari.
I liked that too, the second Ed Eldari, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked that too, I must admit I was a big fan of that.
Can I talk about the other miniature that got shown?
Shriek, yeah.
I love him, he's so good.
He doesn't do it for me.
My Chemical Warfare. He's
Yeah.
brilliant.
He doesn't do it for me. But then again, I'm not really an Imperial Space Marine guy, you know?
No, but right, okay. A lot of people have really, really shat on this guy.
They really don't like him, do they? And
No.
I can get it. I can see why.
I totally understand why. His weird little boots and
He's
his
very
fantastic floppy
strange.
hair.
There are some details I wish they just left off, you know?
I'm going to admit,
The head I like, actually. The
Yeah.
head I really like. I would go for the head. Looks to me like it should belong on a Night Lord's miniature.
Yeah, I can see that.
But there's something about the pose and the over detail makes him look proportionally weird.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's the way they photographed the miniature.
You've got a white background and then quite bright arms, and it gives you this very odd visual motif that changes the silhouette a bit. Also, I think that backpack may have been put on digitally. I don't think it doesn't sit in a physical space that makes sense to me.
It looks strange. The miniature
Yeah.
doesn't really sing to me in the way that a lot of their later work does, you know?
Yeah.
It's certainly not one of those miniatures where I'm like, oh my god, I've got to buy that.
And the other problem is that the way that the legs are, when you're looking at that flat on, the legs give this a really weird illusion of one leg being much bigger than the other.
It does, doesn't it? I don't know
does,
whether
yeah.
it's the colours and it doesn't. It looks strange. The proportionally, the way it's been photographed, the miniature looks really, really
Yeah.
off somehow.
That flat forward on view doesn't work for it. It doesn't show it off brilliantly.
No,
and then
maybe a
it's
profile shot would be better.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the other pictures and you're seeing bits of him inside from the side view, you kind of get a better idea. I mean, you look at him front on, he looks like he's wearing weird big ankle bracelets.
Yeah.
You look at the side, you get to see the claw behind it, and it doesn't look as bulky and silly. However, he's dumb as all hell, and
He's
I actually
really
really
dumb.
like it because
He is really dumb. He hasn't succeeded in crossing the Rubicon Primaris as well as some of the other characters that have.
I can't help but call him My Chemical Warfare. I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ain't a scene. This
There's
is a goddamn arms race.
There is a definite sort of 1990s sort of kiddie rock video about this, isn't there?
It's later than that. It's about 2005.
Yeah.
And he very much is going to be wandering around wearing his guy liner and saying, Daddy, 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 buy me another pony.
Yeah.
He's just beautiful in how mismanaged it is.
It's an odd one. It's an odd one, especially when you consider the previous Shrike model,
Yes.
which was actually really quite elegant.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
He's been complexified to the nth degree, and that may not necessarily be a good thing.
It's not. It's too busy. The design is way too busy, and the little feathers and stuff all over it doesn't work against the heavy technology of the
Given
backpack.
that he's a Raven Guard, he would have benefited from being much less conspicuous, wouldn't he?
Yes.
They're supposed to be stealthy, aren't they? They stalk in the shadows, so maybe having him, you know...
Consider that.
I mean...
He's meant to be super stealthy.
Yeah,
and he's standing on a great big bunker wall.
You're going to see him coming, aren't you? If you can't see him, you're definitely going to hear him.
Look at me, I'm really stealthy. No, friend, you're a target.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, you can't see me.
I mean, is he just going to, like, close his eyes and say, you can't see me, you can't see me?
Because of that base, he's going to be hanging over terrorists all over the place.
It's
he's going to be taller than a
It's kind of a shame, really, because I like the Raven Guard. You know, they're one of the chapters that seems to get short shrift.
Yes.
Quite a lot. They're kind of ignored. So I'm hoping when their codex hits, their supplementary codex, they get a little bit more going for them, you know?
I think they will, yeah.
I think they will. But even so, it's not the best of starts, you know?
It's not.
It's not the best of starts.
Oh,
I've got to say.
A lot of people have done these digibashes for him.
Yeah.
Where they've taken his head off and replaced it with a beaky head.
Yes. Does it look better?
I mean, it looks all right, but what I quite like are the ones where they haven't taken the helmet off the side.
So he's got two helmets.
He's got two helmets.
He's got a replacement helmet. Well, why not?
And there was one of them I saw which took the helmet off the side, but put his head where the helmet was.
Yeah.
Oh, people have been having a lot of fun digibashing with this guy.
I can imagine, because the feedback on that one has... it hasn't been ill-tempered, I will say that. It's actually been quite humorous.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
People have actually rather enjoyed making fun of it.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
There's that.
I mean, you know, you go into the bigger Facebook groups, and there is a lot of negativity.
Yeah, well, there's always a lot of negativity, isn't there?
But I really like the fact that this has opened up a lot of people's snidiness.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
I've always said you can be negative as long as you're intelligent with it.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think it's to be fair to Games Workshop, it's one of their rarer misfires this in this season. You know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Did you watch the chapter master interviews video?
I didn't. No, I haven't watched it yet.
I won't ruin it. It's quite good.
It's quite amusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
As they often are.
Was that it for 40k?
I think
it is.
that's
Yes.
it. And I think there's only one thing left to talk about.
Yeah. Let's do the wheel. Age of Sigmar.
Well, this was unexpected. Another undead army.
Yes.
I did not expect that, because how many are there now?
Nighthaunt, Legions of Nagash, Flesh Eater Courts.
Flesh Eater Courts, and technically the Legions of Nagash are 3 in 1.
They are, yeah.
So you've got essentially 6.
Pretty much, yeah.
6 different undead armies, all of which are distinct from one another. They play differently, they're organised differently, they've got different ethos and background, all linked to Nagash, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But really interesting. These guys, the new ones, the Ossiarch, what are they called? The Ossiarch
Bone Reapers.
Bone Reapers, that's it. The Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Great name. Great name.
I am so happy that this means that we can finally get rid of the title Death Rattle.
Yeah, you don't need them anymore.
Never a fan of Death Rattle.
No, Bone Reapers and Ossiarch is way better.
Yep.
But you know what? When I first saw the standard troopers for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, the first thing I thought is, oh, Nagash has got Stormcast.
Yep, that's pretty much what's
essentially
happened.
it, isn't it? When you look at the background for them, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
He's essentially taken the notion of Stormcast and perverted it. It's brilliant. I love it. I'm very pleased. And they look amazing.
Everything about what these guys are is so AOS.
It is.
So beautifully.
It's the next stage of evolution for the undead, isn't it? It's the next stage of evolution. They're not just mindless constructs. They actually have souls inside of them. They have personality. These warriors actually do remember a little of who they used to be, which is kind of terrible in a way, and kind of brilliant. I love them. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and they look just out of this world amazing.
Do you remember, going back maybe 2 years, I was talking about how I think it's actually pre-Soul Wars, so it might even be longer than that. Whoops. I was talking about how there was this weird reference to bone shapers. Necromancers who took the bodies of the dead and reshaped them.
Yeah.
Oh, look!
Oh, here they are, yeah?
Not what I was expecting in any way, shape, or form,
but here they are.
As a way of playing with that concept and moving that concept into 3D miniature form, I couldn't be happier.
No, and they've got a slight element of Khemri about them, too.
Yes, but not in the way that they're a one-to-one Tomb Kings.
Oh, no, they're not a one-to-one Tomb Kings analogue. No, they are not. They're actually far removed from that. But if you wanted to do a Tomb Kings Legion in AOS, here's your chance, basically. Because they have that ethos about them, you know? Yeah.
One of the things that really jumps forward for me, and I love it to bits, is the way that they talk about Catacross. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Where are we? Yes, I believe that's it.
Yeah, no embittered spirit, arch schemer of the world that was, or devoted sycophant, this is a terrifying new paragon of unlife itself.
Yeah.
Granted new existence in a body of ensorcelled stone. What? Sorry, ensorcelled bone. His body is bone broken down and made liquid to create a suit of living armor.
Yeah. Orpheon Catacross, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
And the miniature is
God.
out of this world. I mean, the
Yeah.
miniature is like, it's another quantum leap for me.
It really is. Look at him. He's
Yeah.
incredible.
He is absolutely incredible. If you want like an avatar of a living god, he is just stunning. He's absolutely stunning on almost every level. And the fact that they've gone to town on his base as well.
Yeah.
You know, all of the attendants that he's got, the bodyguards and standard bearers and everything around him. He is phenomenal, I've got to say. He's that kind of miniature that when people who are outside of the game see it for the first time, this is the miniature that's going to get lots of new players involved.
Yeah. I'm looking at the guys on the base. The guy with the bird mask head.
Yeah.
Is it a mask? Is it actually his head? You know, you've got this guy who looks like a samurai.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then the closer you look, you realise that outside of the armour of the chest and shoulders, that's just bone. That's reworked bone. The standard bearer as well. I mean, I like the fact that in the main picture, because of the size of the base, the standard bearer looks really, really tiny.
Yes.
He's not. It's just that he's at the back and
He's
you've
at
got
the
a
back.
guy in front of him holding a bird cage of some description.
Yeah.
The base has a man holding a bird cage on it. That's...
Yeah, I mean,
How big is this guy?
it's like a royal court, isn't it? This
It
guy
really
is so
is.
majestic, you know. He is basically, I think, going to be like Nagash's second in command, isn't he? He is like an emperor in and of himself, you know?
Yeah, it's moved so far away from reworking the world that was characters.
Yeah, this is something new. This is something really interesting. And I want to read about him. I want the book.
Yeah, same.
I want to know
same.
who he is. I want to know like what his character is and all of that stuff. And how these guys work on the battlefield. I mean, we know that their whole deal is that they expect a tithe of souls, basically. And if people aren't willing to pay it, then they take their bone instead.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is such a wonderful narrative hook.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
And now we've talked about the big man. Can I talk about the one that really excites me?
Is it the construct?
The Mortek crawler.
The crawler is awesome, isn't it?
Look at it. You can
And have
hear
you
it.
seen that it's a dual set?
I hadn't.
It's a dual set. There's an image floating around out there of it reworked into a proper Screaming Skull catapult.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So it's a double set. There is actually also Screaming Skull catapults in this army as well.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
As well as this thing, which is this weird spidery centipede thing made out of bones.
You can hear it, can't you?
Yeah, scuttling. You can actually hear the damn
You can
thing,
hear it in your
yeah.
mind's eye. You can hear it making its noises.
It's brilliant. I mean, it is an absolutely stunning looking miniature. All the skeletons who are moving over it as well, manipulating it and getting it to work.
One has a cup of tea.
I love it. He does have a cup of something. I don't know what's going on there.
I like to think that
Absolutely stunning.
he's on a break.
Yeah, oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Coffee break.
I mean, it's hard to say.
and coffee, what the hell would that be like? Black as pitch, presumably.
Yeah, I was going to say blacker than the blackest night.
Yeah, yeah.
Shishi and coffee.
Roaring trade in that across the realms, I imagine. Doesn't pick you up, though.
Oh,
Has
no,
the opposite
Yeah,
effect.
it does the very, very opposite. It's rat poison. But, I mean, it's hard to see because it's, once again, it's a flat-on image.
Yes, yeah.
But there's a guy, and it looks like he's reworking one of the legs or something like that.
Yeah,
on the
he's
side.
doing something. He's like maintaining it, isn't he? It's, yeah, I mean, everything I've seen from this army thus far has been exciting to the nth degree, I've got to say.
Yeah, I mean, the cavalry.
Yeah, the cavalry are amazing. That sorcerer guy
Yeah.
with the souls coming out of the bottle, I love him. Love him.
Yeah, where's it at? Here we are, the
The Cavalos Death Riders.
The deadly construct warriors created by the twisted magical bioengineers of the Mortician priesthood.
Yeah, the guys that have got 4 souls bound into them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love them. Absolutely love them. I can see lots of Demon Prince conversions. I can see lots of Tyranid conversions coming off these guys.
Very much so, yeah.
Because they look a little Tyranid warrior-y, don't they? Barring the heads.
Yeah, it's what happens when Tyranids take over Necrons.
I can see a lot of these miniatures being sold for a lot of people who aren't playing the army, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, the amount of ideas I've already got for things I want to do with them.
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, those are miniatures that would sell the army for me on their own.
Without a doubt.
They are stunning, and I love the heads. I love the heads with the different
yeah.
faces and whatnot. I think it's stunning.
And the beauty that is the is it that give them the ability to shift personalities mid-battle in order to change their fighting style.
Now that is
so
interesting.
good.
So I'd assume they have like 4 profiles, and you can switch between the profiles depending on like what battle round it is or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be my guess.
It is so cool.
It's very clever. It's very clever. I'm fascinated. It's a battle tome I am going to be getting.
Yeah.
Some of the miniatures I'm just getting regardless because they need to be done. They need to be painted. Catacross not least amongst them, you know?
I think these guys are also a really good entry-level army.
Yeah.
Because the troops and everything, they're going to be very easy to get to tabletop standard.
Yep.
Quickly, especially with
well,
the
they're
contrast
all bone,
paints.
aren't they? So you can dry brush these guys, ink them and dry brush them, and they'll be fine. They'll be good to go.
I mean, I don't know if you've played around with the contrast paints yet, but to get bone at the moment, it's spray with wraith bone, then use skeleton bone contrast.
And that's it, yeah?
That's it. That's all you need.
Okay, so these guys, you're going to be able to speed paint these guys so easily.
I mean, there's obviously you can go further than that if you want.
Yeah.
But to get them to tabletop standard, that's it. That's all you need. It's
yeah.
really good.
Interesting. Also, these are arguably, I mean, I know the Night Haunts did it to a certain degree, but these are arguably the first undead army that really removes them from everything that went before.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, this makes them AOS.
Well, in the same way that the Night Haunt used the wraiths to springboard an entire army look, these guys are using the
bone.
What do you call them? There was these big monsters that came out at the end times.
Yes, the things that protected Nagash, the angelic things.
I can't think what they're called now.
I can't remember what they were called, but they were very cool. They were very cool, and they looked very like these guys.
Well, yeah, that's what they've used to push into the new way of making the skeleton part of the undead army look.
Well, it's something I've wanted to see for ages because there's always been talk of like these bone golums and constructions and bits fashioned from corpses and whatnot, but we've never seen them.
No,
it's always just been zombies and skeletons and whatnot. Yeah. So now here they are. This is what the necromancers have actually been fashioning, and it's actually really interesting.
It's not here, but it's in the video. And I put a picture up. I'll have to do it onto the Instagram as well. I put a picture up on the Fluffenhammer thing from the video. And it's a guy carrying his own coffin. He's wearing it like a coat.
Yes. And he's got like a sort of visionary's thing on his chest, doesn't he?
He really does. And he's brilliant. And
he's very cool.
If nothing else, I want him just to have him.
Yep.
But then again, I'm a big undead player, so
this is just gravy. Yeah, this is the best thing ever.
This is me trying to work out how I'm going to reorganize my shelves so I can get this army into it. It's
honestly, well, this is. I mean, I like the undead. I've always liked the undead, but this is the one that might push me to actually getting an army of undead. Because they are so good.
They really are. I mean, just looking at the basic troops as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're brilliant. There's so much going on there. There's
so much personality, isn't there?
Yeah.
They remind me a little bit of the whites of old. Where the old sort of lead whites, and each one was individual.
Yeah.
They look a little bit like those, but massively updated.
Massively so. I think they're brilliant.
They are lovely.
Brilliant. Everything about them just sings the tune that I love. Even just the basic bits of information that we're given about them. Everything here, the Mortek Guard. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, Kavalos Death Riders. I mean, these names are wonderful.
Yeah.
What really grabs me, as you mentioned before, that these are not undead tools that are being thrown at the enemy. Each and every one of them has their own personality.
They've actually got personality, and that attracts me massively.
Yeah.
It really does, because it means there's vestiges of character here.
Mm-hmm.
Who are these guys? Who did they used to be before they were forced into this service, you know?
Oh, God, I've just noticed the Necromancer guy. I don't know if he is a necromancer or not. He just looks like a necromancer to me, with his big scythe. I've just noticed the spirits being drawn out of the
drawn out of the
scythe.
bottle. Yeah, it's cool, isn't it, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
so he's the tithe collector, presumably.
I assume so.
That's what I'd imagine.
Oh, that means, right, the scythe takes the soul, and then the
That's
soul
right.
goes in the bottle. Oh,
That's it, yeah.
That's
that would be
cool.
my guess, anyway.
Yeah.
He takes the tithes. I love him. I think he's absolutely beautiful. Stick a backpack on him, and you've got a nice Thousand Sun sorcerer there.
Very true, actually, yeah.
He'd be like a lovely Thousand Sun sorcerer. I may have to do that to him.
In fact, mixing this into a Thousand Suns...
You could do it very easily, because they do have that slight Egyptian thing going on, don't they?
I mean, using those heads as the helmets and...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, George, I'm so sorry.
You could make a lovely Thousand Suns army from this lot.
You could.
And Catacross himself would make an amazing Zeech Demon Prince.
Yes, he would.
He would make a fantastic Zeech Demon Prince.
The more I look at Catacross, the more I just keep seeing things that are in that sculpt. It's just so much.
It's one of the best things they've done for ages, and that's saying something, because they've been on fire with the miniature sculpts recently, barring one or two hiccups. And this guy just blows it out of the water.
Have you noticed on top of the standard bearer, there's a little bit of black pyramid?
I did notice that, yes. Well, there was the quip, wasn't there, to chip off the old black pyramid.
Yeah. I just realised what that is, isn't it? He's walking around with a bit of the black pyramid.
My guess is there will be rules for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that will be saturated with death energy, won't it?
It really will. Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Right, I could wax lyrical for this for ages. It's everything about it is just beautiful.
Well, to be honest, even at this early stage, even with what we've seen, this is everything that makes AOS good.
Yes.
It's everything that makes AOS better than Fantasy Battle.
Yep.
It's everything I really want from this system and from this universe. So,
In fact,
they've done it again.
Continuing pushing forward, making AOS into something that isn't generic Fantasy World 63,
They've done it again. God bless them.
Absolutely brilliant. And I think that's everything then. The wheel has come to an end.
That's it, yeah.
So what we'll do...
I think that's it.
...is quickly just mention the fact that we have announced the date for the Fluffenmeet.
We have!
Which is the 2nd of November. It was going to be in October, and then we realised that was going to be the same weekend as a AOS doubles tournament.
Yes, which could make things problematic.
Which wasn't on the calendar that I checked. So that was good. So 2nd of November, we have got a meetup taking place at Warhammer World. If you would like to join in, please go to Facebook and check out the event. Just check the Fluffenmeet and just let us know.
Please do.
If you just want to come down to meet people and have a bit of a chatter and stuff, please do. I'm going to try and get some T-shirts sorted so we can all wear Fluffenhammer T-shirts so we all know who each other is.
Oh, that's superb.
Or fill in that little badges that just say, hello, my name is. One way or the other, we're going to have ways of doing that. Just keep checking, and we will have stuff out on Twitter, on Facebook, and all that type of thing this week.
Brilliant.
So hopefully we can get together. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Even if I don't get the chance to do a huge amount of gaming, I'm just looking forward to actually going to Warhammer World and
Me too. I haven't been for ages, so...
I've never been.
You've never been to Warhammer World? Oh, it's loads of fun.
Never once. Every time I've almost got there, something's taken place.
I
remember years ago we were going to go when I was maybe 16.
Uh-huh.
And got into the car, and the car set off, and we got 6 feet down the road before the car went, and we couldn't get anywhere. So needed a whole new starter motor.
Yep.
So that was fun. So yeah, all that. Outside of that, I don't have a huge amount to say, other than I've just finished a series of paintings based on the PC version of Space Crusade.
Oh God! Wow.
I don't know why I did that. It just started and didn't finish. So I'm going to be putting them up for sale this week. So yeah, outside of that, that's me. What would you like to say, George?
Oh, if you do want to come and chat with me at any particular point, please come over to the Twitter at Enigmatic Elegy and hit me up. More than welcome. Once again, you can find me hanging around Exaggerated Elegy on YouTube, where there's all sorts of stuff going on. In terms of my own work, there's my latest short story collection, Born in Blood Volume 1, which you can get over at Amazon. If you do happen to read it, please leave a review. That would be great. You can also find my stuff at strangeplaygrounds.com. And I think for now, that's it.
I like how you said for now.
For now, definitely. There's more coming.
That sounded very... what's the word I'm looking for here? Scary.
Yeah, good. That's appropriate.
And of course, if you are a Patreon subscriber, stay tuned because there is a Patreon show incoming. So
Yay!
You guys take care.
Does it make a noise? Does it click?
It will do when I do some editing.
Excellent. So, just to break the illusion completely, you're going to put that sound in after.
Yes.
Oh, very clever. And the audience will be none the wiser.
None the wiser at all.
How very clever.
Oh, let's just kick that fourth wall to death.
Let's.
And now there's a dog.
I was going to say, that wasn't the wheel, was it?
No.
That sounded like something totally other.